use my affiliate link to support the channel down in the description. So yeah, this is 60 card list. This was inspired basically by my boy Raul. So much credit to him behind the theory with this, so I do want to say that I'm going to have him on the channel to feature him, and I know he's going to start doing coaching too, because these kinds of lines require some coaching. It's very much like branded as a combo deck at this point. This is the most, this is a straight up combo deck, because in most branded builds that I've ever built, they are mid-range. They are, it's definitely combo mid-range. I've always described that to the people I've coached, but this kind of build, especially if you dive more into a combo-y approach, which we'll talk about the other choices, despite weathering the algorithm storm. So 60 cards, say hi to YouTube folks. 3 Albaz. I do nothing really to explain. 3 Aluber, 2 Cartesia, 3 Cartesia. That's something maybe to explain. 2 Quem. You run Desires in this build, so you probably need to run 3. And also you run multiple Saronir, so Cartesia is just more of a combo piece. And obviously I've always been a person to run the double Quem. I think double Quem is quite necessary, because you need one for the opening on your opponent's turn. We do run the ad lib though, but we'll get to that. So you do have more options for opening at least, but I think the 3 card comes up a lot, especially with running Desires, so you don't end up banishing them all. But even if I wasn't running Desires, I'd probably still be on 3 Cartesia. She's just an amazing card, and you want to see her, and at 60 cards, it kind of is just it warrants running that. So yeah. No 3 Quem. I don't think 3 Quem is warranted, but that's something you could definitely consider. And then 1 Kit. I feel like Kit's extraordinary in this deck, because you can banish it, a Mercurier, and search it off of that. You run Gold Sark too in this build. Gold Sark is is probably your best in this deck, actually, because of how much you play around with the banish mechanics with Branded Sword. So Springen's Kit being able to recycle off your banish is super good. We're gonna zoom in a little bit more. So I think that in this build in particular, she has a lot of synergy. I think that overall she's a great card. But in this build, I'm running Patchwork, and I run 1 Poly, actually, spoiler alert. So she's nice to get the rotation back of Poly into my deck if that needs to be the case to make Patchwork live again, or other little things, but she's really nice to extend off of Mercurier, because you're trying to banish Mercurier a lot in this build, actually running 2 Mercurier, so we'll get to that. That's where the combos come into, so make sure stick through the deck profile so you guys see the combos. It will be re-uploaded as a deck profile, and we will have a combo guide when Raul comes on the channel. I was trying to say before, but shout out to my boy Raul once again for a lot of this inspiration through this deck profile. It's really just such cool theory. I really wanted to try it out, and that's what we did, and we won locals a couple times. So 1 Kit, and then 3 Shroudion. This is something that I've kind of been on for a minute. I think Shrouded Dragon is amazing right now, and especially in this build, because you are running multiple branded in red, and then also you're running branded in white, so you want to maximize on your dragons. You are also running branded high spirits. You're running a bunch of these cards that also branded sword, which this can send, and branded sword is an insane card, guys. It's one of the most underrated cards in the whole branded arsenal. So Albion just gets better in this build when it has so many good sends. This card is never bad. This card is one of the best cards in your whole deck, and you have ways to unbrick it with Allure of Darkness. Spoiler alert, we're on Allure, and then of course we are on Desire, so you don't want to banish all of them. What's up, Yuri Diaz? How's it going? How's it going, brother? What's up? What's up? Nicholas Smith, one thing, is it worth running Dark Magician Dragoon this format? Yeah, no, I think that Dragoon is kind of weak this format. I think the theme of my last 2 roasting your deck profile videos, it's me passively aggressively telling you guys to stop running Dragoon in your deck. Dragoon's kind of bad right now. So 2 Mercurier, 1 Tragedy. Mercurier is insane. Tragedy is obviously insane, but in a build even at 60 cards, I think you have to make a sacrifice and not run 2 and 2. You want to run 2 and 1 of either or. And in the build where you really want to maximize on the Gold Sark and on the banish plays and on the sword, I think Mercurier outperforms Tragedy by a mile. And also, just being able to banish the 1 and guaranteed have the ability to search the follow-up is really nice. Tragedy is really nice too. A lot of the time you don't even have to use the first effect. A lot of the time you can just set one of the things in your graveyard, Shroud Dragon being one of your best combo pieces. So it's just really nice. Then Kit, you're just able to set the retribution a lot of the time, you know, which is just like really insane. And board piece to play around Bestials and things like that. Runic spell cards summoning when you go into Sanctifier, letting them still play. And all YGO, how's it going? How's it going? Can you show branded banishment combo? Cartesia plus Albaz. What do you mean branded banishment combo? Cartesia plus Albaz when Yubel gets support. Well, I mean, like, branded banishment is about to go really hard in that deck. I will not lie. I'm gonna be playing Yubel, guys. I will be having a branded Yubel list. I'll probably be having a pure Yubel list. That deck looks insane. The new fusion, whenever that gets ported over here, that's insane. Jake the Mountain Man, about time gets Kit gets respect. Hell yeah, brother. I think there's a Kit emote. If not, I'm gonna give Kit an emote. She really does deserve some respect. She's a great card, being able to recycle Retribution, your banish, your branded sword. It's super good when you are running the banish or branded sword, so plus Retribution. You have so much recursion in this deck. Your grind game's insane. The last of the brand Despia engine is Ad Libitum. Adlib has not been in a lot of my lists in the past, and honestly, I think that was a pretty correct. Like, my deck building philosophy is sometimes different. It comes from a very consistency based approach. So Adlib has never seemed like a necessary card for me to run when Sanctifier plus Quem basically gets me to triple Mirror Jade most of the time. In Adlib, most of the time will brick my hand, but in a format with Allure of Darkness, it makes me consider running the card. And I think that right now, when you're getting hand trapped a lot of the time, getting into grind games with this really powerful fire deck, having a power play in Ad Libitum is extraordinarily important right now. So I think you should be on Adlib. Eric Fan, will Yubel require the Unchained stuff? I think you're going to need, like, one Shaivara. You're going to need, like, one of the traps. And I think you're going to need a Yama or two. That's about it. The upside, though, is when the new Yubel fusion comes out, you're only going to need one copy of the fusion that just came out. So it's going to go down. So don't buy one right now where they're 20. They'll probably go down. I could be wrong, though, if it's really that good. Because the deck is taking over the OCG right now. It's doing really good in its first week of a release. Jake the Mountain Man, Snake Eye has more trouble getting over Guardian Chimera made with Poly than they would Dragoon. Completely agree, exactly. Guardian Chimera with Poly is really good, which is what we're going to talk about. Thank you for reminding me about that. Maxi, should I invest in branded? I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not a fortune teller, so my advice is going to really be based around your because Brandon could get hit next list, but Brandon is extraordinarily resilient like tier, so it's going to still live. It's still going to be one of the best decks. It's just going to be because like Puppet's an easy button for this deck. It lets a lot of people play the deck with just ignoring the other lines the deck has. So you gotta be okay with dropping the Puppet, basically. And then I'd be like, yeah, invest in branded. It's still gonna be a good deck. Here's the Bestial engine. 2 Saronir, 1 Lubellion, 1 Magnemite. I was actually eventually at one point on 3 Saronir, but currently this is what I ran, and this is, I think, what I'm still on. I think that Magnemite's insane going second. It gives you so much advantage. And like I said, we're running Brandon High Spirits, and we're running Brandon in red or Brandon white. We're also running Borreload Savage Dragon, so it allows you just upping your dragon amount is really important as a build like this. I could arguably run 3 Saronir, no Magnemite, but I would be siding the Magnemite otherwise, so it just gives me better going second potential in a build that's already pretty gas. Like you guys are going to see, I don't have a ton of non-engine board breakers outside of Thrust and like a pair of droplets, so but this is something you can consider. I would not run Druidstorm. I would not run Baldrake though in the main, but they are very good side deck cards. Am I on them in my side deck? Keep watching to find out. Taste Code Talker, what's up? What's up? Dragoon is good, but requires too much that doesn't benefit you unless it's making Dragoon. That's been my philosophy with not running it, however much I would like to, maybe in a simpler format. Yeah, exactly. Like, I love the card. It's just this is not a Dragoon format, especially when Zeus Typhon just came out. Typhon really does hurt that card, but also the thing is, right now, it isn't a once, like, Lab isn't really a deck. Like, Lab is such a good card, or Dragoon's so good against Lab, Flu's so good against Lab, Dragoon is so good against Lab and Flu, so I would say once those decks become more prominent, which Flu is right now, Flu is becoming more prominent, so I don't blame people that run Dragoon, but I don't think you need it, like, especially if you're running different things, such as, like, Patchwork, Allure, you know, Droplet. You should be able to use the engine plus your thrusts to break a board just fine. I just feel bad with people not having thrust right now, because, like, branded without thrust, right now, I don't know, like, I haven't seen many lists without thrust. Obviously, I think you can still run it, and I think it's still very good. I just think at a high level, it really does help having the thrust. The Puppet and then the Maximus for the last of the engine kind of things. I run a Nadir's because I still believe in that card, which is kind of like my take on the card, or my take on this build is having a Nadir plus Maximus. I think this card is too free. I think you have to run Puppet. This card, you know, use it while you have it, you know. Maximus is really good. It helps you play through Nib. I would not play a branded build without Nadir and Maximus. I mean, I have, but this is what I ran at the time, so this is what I wanted to profile. You guys will see. It's also just, like, updated slightly because I think I had, like, one error in my list. Then 2 Gem Chain, 1 Poly, and then 2 Patchwork for the rest of the monsters, then into the spells. So this is one of our new engines. I think that these cards are insane right now, especially with Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness allows you to just plus super heavily off of these cards. Like, I was talking to Nightfall, shout out to Nightfall, or no, it was just, he was talking in the chat, and basically he was talking about how someone got blown out by Allure of Darkness and Fright for Patchwork. Like, their hand, like the branded player's hand was bad, but they had these 2 cards and they just, like, drew into everything. Like, these 2 cards are insane. I think he drew into, like, Mercurier and just blew him out. He was, like, at 8 or 9 cards. Like, this card allows you, Patchwork allows you to go to, like, 8 cards in hand consistently. That's why I feel like this card can never be bad when you run Allure. I know a lot of people were running these cards a couple weeks ago, especially over in Europe. I think that these cards are good, and I think the trend right now is to not run these cards, and I think in a 60 card build with Allure, there's no reason not to run these. So that's where I'm at with this. Would I run these in, like, a 50 card build? I'm not sure at the moment. I am testing in and out of that. Bald Degenerate Duelist branded best deck. Hell yeah, let's go. I'm gonna just play 3 Masquerade Turbo Yuri Diaz. That's you, my Cody in the background, but still so powerful. Taze Code Talker, can you also go over how Retribution works, as it could be confusing for new people to the deck? Yeah, since we had, like, a huge kerfuffle about Retribution in the chat the other week. Now we know how brand Retribution properly works, folks. Yuri Diaz saying oh yeah, so I do want to talk about that too. That is super important. Actually, I should go back to that and talk about because we're basically done talking about this. I want to talk about the interactions quickly with the Bestials and Mercurier, because you're running so many Bestials because of the... Wait, what happened to my... I literally just... Oh yeah, here we go. So you run the Bestials, but you run the 2 Mercurier because you run so many Bestials. So a lot of the time you can just combo off of just having Quem send Mercurier and then go Bestial effect. And then also you have cards like Albion the Shrouded Dragon in order to send Branded Sword, Branded Retribution, Branded Sword banishing a card, obviously, or getting back a bash card, so when you'll get back your Mercurier, and then you're also able to then have a you're usually at that point able to go into a fusion under 4 summons and then chain the sword. So you get Mercurier under 5 summons, which is extraordinarily important for playing under Nibiru. So I do want to like stress that is why we are on this build. This is extraordinarily important. Because you have things like Brand High Spirits to facilitate these combos, but the Bestials, like, that's why I might even go to 3 Saranir in a build like this, because this plus, like, Mercurier plus Bestial is basically full combo with, like, any other extender with this build, and that usually actually allows you to play under Nib with, like, getting into, like, a Mirror Jade, a Rinbrum, and Alba Lenatus, worst case scenario, in this build, Alba Lenatus is actually a combo piece for the most part, so we're gonna go over that when we get to that, but, you know, having the 3 Shrouded Dragon plus the Quem really allows you to be able to go into a fusion under 5 with Mercurier in hand when you send the sword, but we'll explain that all when we get to it. I feel like I really should have explained that a bit more when we touched on Mercurier. So yeah, and then obviously the Patchwork Engine, very good. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Besides what I did say. We do have the branded Speller Trap cards. We also have 30 viewers right now. Make sure to leave a like if you haven't already. I appreciate it. Nevenka, how's it going? Hey, what's up, gaming? Well, how's it going, brother? How's it going? I'm gonna have to do it like this. Nicholas Smith with the new Snake Eye Illusion monster. Diabel's the original Sin. Would that be worth running in Brand Chimera since the card is an anti-spell on legs? I think in the side deck. But we already have access in that deck. Brand Chimera to an anti quick play effect, you know, monster, so that we can just spec. So I don't know how much we should be running it. Card limits. How's it going, brother? What's up? What's up? How's it going, brother? You all be more or less lurking. I have burnt 2,400 calories on exercise bike going 90 minutes 3 times this week. Let's go, King. Let's go. We love being healthy out here, guys. That's always something I advocate for. I've been going to the gym the last year, and it's like one of the best changes I've made. I see a lot of people in my chat, too. Shout out Jake the Mountain Man. Always showing off those hydro massage chairs. Just insane out here. Just looking so comfy. Definitely just something to be good, you know, to work out. So that's awesome to hear. Good job. Your ideas, all you need is 1 Lamau gimmick puppet. Shout out to Maki. How are you liking the 1 Lubellion? I think 1 Lubellion is fine at 60. I don't want a brick on it. It's a once per turn, you know, and it's very highly searchable. You can use Rinbrum to bounce it to hand, worst case scenario, and you can go into Rinbrum quite easily, guys, in a build like this when you're playing with Mercurier and like Shroudion a lot. So you have 3 branded fusion for the branded Speller Trap cards, 3 branded in, opening. Really, I'm gonna have to zoom out for this one, guys. There's a few of these guys. 2 branded in red, 1 High Spirits, 1 Lost, 1 White, 1 Sword, 1 Retribution. Alright, there is something that kind of annoys me about the current ratios that I would like to fix, and that is High Spirits. I think High Spirits is the star of the show a lot of the time, next to Sword and Branded in White, so we'll talk about them separately. But also double branded in red is insane, guys. We're gonna have to talk about that and just like the consistency aspect of having that in our deck. But we'll talk with branded and High Spirits. I think this card is one of the most underrated cards in branded. It's a card that a lot of people just like gloss over because it was used in older branded builds, and like not really a lot of the newer branded builds have been using it. Andre Torres brought it back into the eye, and then people have been kind of expanding on it ever since. I think people were on it before that too, but nevertheless, it's a good card because you can combo with all your dragons and then be able to basically full combo. Also, it pairs with Sword quite well, being able to get Bridge into Sword to get into your anti-nib lines. That's why I wish I had this at 2 or 3. There are builds where you can run 2 or 3. I do run the Nadirs though, so this and Nadir kind of conflict. So I think going forward, you could look at maybe you know, just seeing how you want, because I feel like you at least need the 1, but it's bad going second, so you usually side out to only have 1 going second. Spoiler alert. So, and then you have branded in white. This card's quite good. Brand White is actually so good in a deck like this because you have so many dragons and so many ways to Albaz with 3 Shrouded Dragon. So this card's usually live, especially with all the gas that you're putting into your graveyard. Since you are running the Nadir and Garura, this is quite free to make a Mirror Jade most of the time. And then it pairs with Branded Sword really nicely to get back. No reason not to run it in this build, but you really need to only run it in a build with a lot of dragons, and you run the Boral load, so it just is nice. And then you have the 2 Branded in red. Branded red's really good right now, I think. Helps you dodge. Because getting into Chimera is a lot of the time what you need to do. So when you have the Patchwork Engine plus 2 red, you usually have a way to get to Chimera when you're running 2 Quem, 3 Shrouded Dragon. You're always able to get something in the graveyard, you know, kind of thing. So yeah, and also I won multiple games. You guys will see in the next Branded Locals experience, I won a game just straight up over having 2 Branded in red. Brand red is so good. Such a good card at 2. It makes me want to run it at 2 in all my future builds with how good it is. Because you always want one to like make like a Mirror Jade or Sanctifier or like a Stapelia, and then you want one or like a Gwignall, and then you want one to make a Chimera. So yeah, you guys know what changes I'd make, and we're going to talk about Branded Sword too. Branded Sword is kind of, like I said, the star of the show. This card, a lot of the time you can just send off a Shrouded Dragon, or usually, not Quem, but usually Shrouded Dragon. You can send this off a Quem though, which is pretty cool. Its first effect is banish any number of branded spell or trap cards from your graveyard, special summon that many tokens, 2500, 2000. It's a thrust target, like I said, so it's a pretty terrible first effect, I'm not gonna lie, but you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished monsters that has Fallen of Albaz or mentions it and add it to your hand. You can only use 1 effect per turn and only once that turn, so it's basically like Retribution. You can only, but the first effect never comes up. It, like, I've heard people say they can go for OTK with it. It's kind of just a meme. But this card you're allowed to basically send off of Shroud Dragon in combo with Quem, so you can get Mercurier into rotation by banishing it and then getting it back to hand, and then establishing a fusion, and then you're able to play under Nib. And then also it's just good for the grind game. Like with Desires, you can banish your Retribution or banish this, and you need something to just facilitate more of your grind game. It allows Mercurier to be a true combo piece. With High Spirits especially too, and like white. So I think that this card is well warranted in a build like this. I don't know if I would run it in any other build than a 60 card build, I'm being honest, but that's why I recommend trying out this build. It's a really fun build. You can use Branded Sword to do really disgusting things. And like I said, I'll have more of we're going to do some combos after this, and then we're going to have Raul on the channel, and we're going to have like more of a full expose on the combos. But also, we'll talk about Branded Retribution here because we were requested to. Branded Retribution, while we're doing our Branded Retribution explained video already, guys. That's crazy, within a deck profile. So Branded Retribution is a funny card that is something that is kind of misunderstood in the community. It's an Omni negate on a summon, essentially. It's a counter trap card, so very good in terms of spell speed. But when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated, that includes an effect that special summons a monsters, so it could be multiple. Return to the extra deck 1 face-up fusion monster you control, comma, or 2 fusion monsters in your graveyard that mention Fallen of Albaz as material. And if you do negate the activation, destroy that card. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a brand spell or trap card from your graveyard, except for Retribution, add it to your hand. You can only use 1 effect per turn. So this card basically works as followed. You only get to Omni negate if you have a monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz on board. So there's the comma. It says 1 face-up fusion monster you control, comma, or 2 fusion monsters in your graveyard. I don't know if that's a comma or not, but that mention Fallen of Albaz as a material. And I gotta see. Yeah, there is a comma right there under after graveyard. Then target 1 brand spell or trap card in your graveyard. Or sorry, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Essentially, it needs to mention Fallen of Albaz. So a lot of people will end up cheating with this card and like returning their Grand Gwignall on field, but it needs to mention Fallen of Albaz, so make sure you do that. So that was the main deck, right? No. We have all the side engine now. We have all the side engine. We have the gas. We have 2 Nadir Servant because we love Nadir Servant. We have the Maximus, obviously. I think this card basically reads win the game, and we side the third. So, for going first. So, because you could either side Summon Limit or Nadir, and I run this, so maybe we could side like High Spirits in the future. I don't know. It's something to consider, and we'll have an updated build later. 2 Desires. I think that, and this achieves, you know, obviously 1 card gimmick locks, as well as Branded Fusion does. I forgot to say. We'll be going over the 1 card gimmick lock, guys, so make sure to like this video. It's going to be a fun one. Shout out Nightfall for providing that little GUU tidbit. But, 2 Desires, banish 10, draw 2. It's a +1. I've seen builds where you run 2, my boy Raul, or where you run 3. I'm on just 2 currently with 2 mismatched Desires. Don't judge me. And it's really good every time I resolve it. It just sucks when you banish like an integral combo piece, but obviously you don't need Puppet to play. So a lot of the time you can just shotgun the Desires and then just make sure you don't banish all the things you need, since you have more cards in deck, and then you can just go from there and play with what you have. Also, you can play in the way where if you have a lot of gas, you can just Desires last and establish more gas. It's not bad either. It combos really well with the Allure of Darknesses, or oh my god, Allure of Darkness, and then also the Patchwork, obviously. So like all these cards just allow you to just go insta gas, like so much gas in the stack, and Nadir just obviously allows you to play through more hand traps than anything, but you know, this card basically reads Branded Fusion. So I think these cards are all broken together. Maybe want to run like 3 Desires in the future, and maybe want to cut the Nadir in the future. Definitely things to consider. Because like Nadir isn't really like, I mean, Nadir's really good though. Like I would never like cut it entirely. It would just go in the side deck. I think Nadir is too good not to run. I think Nadir is better than Summon Limit. Shout Raul also for establishing that kind of theory. It's just like better because like a lot of the time you can't even turn off your own Summon Limit unless you have like a Cosmic or a Magnum the Reliever, which we are not on. Devenka, yeah, 60 card without Allure is crazy to me. Yeah, exactly. So guys, you really do need to be on draw power when you're on 60 cards. I think that is one of the aspects of 60 cards you have to understand. And branded in general, you need to, like, deck building is really important. You can run branded at 40 to 60 cards just fine. You know, I think a 40 card build will be more consistent than a 60 card build. However, I think what you have to keep in mind always is, while you're running 60 cards, you need draw power. So we have all this draw power to get through our deck. We have the Nadirs to play through and basically get through our decks. And then we have obviously the branded engine to do that as well. We do run a lot of bricks, but all we need is to see is like one of these, just like 1 card +1s. And then we're off to the races. In a 60 card build, like the worst thing that can happen in a 60 card build is like drawing like a hand of all, like, you know, monsters, obviously, that just do nothing, but that's probably not going to happen, all things considered. And that's why you run 60 cards, and that's why you run all these +1s. So and running 60 cards also means that you aren't seeing these bricks as much. You're allowed to run a bit more bricks in a 60 card build. So definitely always, like, you have to run a lure on a 60 card build, and then you have to just like have other options to get through your deck. And there's not a whole lot. Like, obviously, like, we have things like Foolish Burial, Goldstark. I think these cards are amazing, obviously. Especially this card, like, because you're banishing the Mercurier, setting up your branded sword combo line. So this card goes extra hard. Like, this is like the first build where I'm like, oh, Goldstark is better than Foolish in the branded deck. Shout to Maki, I get it. I've been saying to make use of Lenatus as a combo piece on my channel. Nice shout to Maki. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's very, very cool to see the ability to use Elbow Lenatus just like to play under Nib, you know, because you don't need a fusion to do it. So we'll talk about that when we get to Elbow Lenatus. Yuri Diaz, show them the OCG line you read online for the High Spirit, Brand White for Kit for the Brindbrum lines. If you know opponent is on Bestial, you set Retribution. I think I remember that combo. I might have to retread it. Card limits. The negate does not come up often because Numeron network inherent calling effect or my special summons either cannot be negated or I can recycle it. Oh, Maxi, what do you run for time? I usually run Masquerade, but I don't go to time. I'm a pretty quick player, all things considered. Like, I'll take pride in that. I haven't gone to time in the last like 3 events I've been to. For like, I don't know if I've gone into time like since Nats, to be honest. But it's you know, if your pace of play is a bit slower, that's totally fine, and then like you can run Masquerade. I think Masquerade's insane right now, though. We'll talk about why we're not running it, but we can talk about it right now. We are not running Masquerade. I think Masquerade's insane right now because if you put up against a Snake Eye board, they have to like go through like 5 to 6k damage before they can out it, unless they are gonna just make it inadvertent SP Masquerada, which usually cuts down their gas. So 3 fusion deployment. I think fusion deployment's amazing right now, obviously. Nothing to say right about that. And then the thrust package, this stuff's amazing. Shout Yuri Diaz for the Euro print fusion duplication, high rarity. So yeah, I think you need to be running thrust if you're running branded right now, and obviously you don't need to, but if you can get thrusts and if you have thrusts, run them in branded. That's just kind of what it is. If not, your deck's gonna be fine. You don't need them to win with branded. This card is just like extraordinarily free. It's always live. And then saying fusion duplication, it's a custom card for this deck. Tactics is really good. I can see myself going to 2 tactics, honestly. I just think it's a bit of a brick, and not only having 1 means that you never see more of it. And obviously, like, thrust is just less of a brick in this deck, so that's why you run 3 of it. And they can search every card in your deck, so it's like one of the most busted cards ever printed in Yu-Gi-Oh! So we're getting into the extra deck, and then we're getting into the side deck, and then we're getting into combos and some side patterns, and then we're also going to play with the deck online. I mean, we'll play with the variation of it. I guess we could play with the exact deck. Got you, my king. Card limits, I agree. Even Raid Raptors have Allure, Paw of Avarice, Wing, Requital, and Beginning of the End. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, extra deck cards. 1 Mirror Jade, because I'm not afraid of Kashtira. You only need the second if you consider Kashtira, and I have an extra deck, or side deck that combats Kashtira pretty well. If I was going to a regional, I might run this set too, to be honest, though. Especially right now, because you see some Snake Eye builds teching in Kashtira Unicorn as a engine just to like establish more board presence and advantage. So you know, shout Konami for putting Kashtira Unicorn back to 3 for 0 reason. They're very obviously gonna put that back to 2 or 1 next list, like, or do something to the deck, you know, kind of thing. 2 Albion, run 2, guys. I know there's a deck profile on my channel that only ran 1 recently. Run 2. I appreciate you subscribing, Jay Kaiba. Shout out to the deck profile. Shout out to Noel. It's just like running 1 is just like playing on a prayer. 1 Mirror Jade is a lot more like doable, especially when you run Adlib, because Adlib can obviously just bring it back. Bro, Pack is watching one of your videos on stream. What? That's crazy. Which video? That's crazy. We made it, folks. Shout Pack. We love Pack. I went to his stream last night, or like the other night. I was watching him play TFT. So maybe that got his attention, but shout Pack. Good luck to him in the I think if the boot camp for Box for TFT, that's gonna be very fun. Check out TFT, guys. It's a fun game. Titanclad, 1 Albion, Lubellion, Rinbrum, Albalinatus. So oh gosh, so Pax on his Despia arc. He really is. That's how we know he's watching one of my videos. He talked about actually wanting to run Despia, especially if it doesn't get hit on the list. He's like, yeah, it's gonna be like a really good deck. And I think he said to ban Sanctifier too, which is totally fair. Someone's gonna have to send me the clip. It's like someone like genuinely, like I actually have to. I'm gonna have to go to Pack's stream right now. Oh my gosh, we're watching Noel. Oh, he's watching Noel's. Got it. That's funny. Shout Pack. So, Yeah, he was watching the most recent deck profile we have. So there's Alba Lenatus here. Alba Lenatus is actually the most interesting piece out of all these guys. Like, we know what all these guys do. There's really nothing to talk about here. But Alba Lenatus, you can contact Fuse off, and when you're using 3 Shrouded Dragon, you're allowed to basically use Quem as a extension piece into Alba Lenatus. When you're running all the Bestials, you're running the Shrouded Dragon, you're running Albaz as well, because you can search Albaz off of the Mercurier when you have like Quem and Shrouded Dragon in rotation with a Bestial, and then just like go into this or Rinbrum if you have like a fusion option. So this card's really good, and then also it's just like really good into some boards too, some fire boards. There were because like obviously Flameburge is a dragon, Savage is a dragon, so this card actually can take your opponent by surprise. It's actually quite good into Snake Eye, and it solves some of your rogue matchups, right? Like just like random like dragon stuff. So this thing being a combo piece, it well warrants its place, and then also it's just not bad as a board breaker, and it's a way to OTK to just get over boards. Nothing really else to say about all these. Like Sanctifier, my homie. Please don't ban Sanctifier. We love Sanctifier. I mean, you can ban it like after Nats, Konami. I'm down with that, honestly. I thought it was gonna get banned after last Nats. So to be fair, I feel like we are living on borrowed time, but you know, there's also a lot of things that is wrong with the format right now, so that's why I could see them completely just not hitting this for the most part. You know, especially with a power creep coming, there's a lot of really powerful decks coming. Like Yubel is about to be insane. This is legal in the OCG, and it's fine. You know, yeah. And then Titanclad, obviously, no Lulu, guys, no Lulu while Lilith, but we are running 2 Grand Guignol and 1 Quertus. So I think that Quertus is. Someone should send in my stream because we're in the middle of a deck profile. And then we have 2 Guignol, and then I think 2 Guignol is kind of standard at this point. Shout Nightfall, I think, and Shout Rowell, he was also using this. I was on 2 at various points. I always thought 2 was quite good because you can get to 1 card Gimmick Lock with 2, which will show off. I have to drink some water. And so, yeah, 2 Guignol. I think 2 Guignol is well warranted, especially when you like I said, the 1 card Gimmick Lock, extraordinarily important. And then just a grind game. You don't have, and then you can just obviously you know, banish out for a Quertus, banish out for a Quem. Very good. Make another Guignol on your opponent's turn, send the puppet. Very good. Quertus is still warranted, obviously. Just no Lulu. I don't think you need Lulu really for the there's really no reason to go you don't need Lulu for the Gimmick Lock unless you want a 1 card Nadir, and since there's a 1 card branded Fusion Gimmick Lock, I feel like at this point you don't quite need Lulu. Having 2 is nice too, especially against Kashtira. 1 Guardian Chimera, 1 Borreload, 1 Stapelia, and 1 Garura. So 1 Garura, very obviously, because we are running Nadir and Maximus, so I send this off of Nadir, and then I plus a billion. So nothing really. And then it's also, we're siding Super Poly, so it's a Super Poly target against rogue decks. And then we have Guardian Chimera. It's like one of the best cards in the deck. We have Poly. We run Poly finally, so this becomes untargetable, which is really good until a lot of the matchups, especially Snake Eye, because they can't target. So it's very good. Into Runic as well, which is one of the big stun decks currently. So I think that it's very good. Tezco Talker, I had 2 Grand Guignol, trade the 2nd to a new branded player at locals and haven't seen him since. Oh no. Time to order the 2nd. The 3rd at this point. But yeah, so 1 Borreload Furious Dragon. Borreload Furious Dragon's cool, man. This card's so good. This card's so good. I don't know why I wasn't on it sooner, but this card kind of solves our back row matchup for the most part. It solves our lab matchup, shout the Salty Fry, because they go set a card before they pitch, and you can go Borreload, target, destroy. Also, you can do things like run Panzer Dragon with Super Poly, pop the Panzer with Borreload, and then you get to pop a bunch of cards. We are not on Panzer because I could not find my Panzer Dragon. I just haven't had time to go through my bulk, but I would be on Panzer Dragon in the side. I think Panzer Dragon's quite good against Snake Eye because Panzer Dragon, you'd be able to Super Poly off on the the Excel Synchron on top of the Flame Burge or the Savage. So very good. This thing is also technically a super poly target, which is kind of funny. So we're still on super poly. We'll get to that too, because a lot of people are currently hating on super poly, which is totally fair. It's like a card you don't need. I just think it's so good that I will always run that card, to be fair. And then once Depalia, I think you need it. It's so good. Just solo some decks. It's a continuous. It's like Furious. It has continuous board presence and not much expense at yourself. Alright, so that was the extra deck. Then we'll get into the side deck, and then we'll do some combos. Side deck, One Shadal Dragon. You guys will see a really nasty clip. I think it's already uploaded. Yeah, it was already uploaded out of my last locals experience, where I summoned Shadal Dragon off of a Sanctifier. Like, I sent it off of Fusion Duplication, like I sent off of Branded Fusion the turn before that to pop a card, and then the turn after I summoned it off of Sanctifier with an Albaz, and then I fused it off with the Albaz, and then I popped a card on his side of the field again, and I got a Lubellion into a Mirror Jade. So this card's extraordinarily free right now. You just pitch it off a Branded Opening too. It's like, when you see this in Branded Opening, it's like FTK going second. Also, you can just send it off of Branded Fusion, as I said. You skip the Lubellion line, which kind of sucks, but sometimes that's what you need against a stun deck. And ever since the last profile, there's been a crop of stun decks coming up, such as Runic Stun, Fossil Dyna Stun, Horus Stun, and then Kashtira kind of just doing their thing, and then Eldritch is kind of like hanging out, just like with their thumb in their mouth. So I think that Shadal Dragon goes really hard against those decks to continuously out floodgates. You kind of need this, I think, or more cards. So this kind of just does the job, in my opinion. It's cuttable. I don't think it's that great, but it's like fine. It's like I think it like does its job as a one of. Definitely something that we could consider trading. Taze Code Talker, I think my locals is looking forward to me not playing Branded for a while, since all of us went to regionals together and spent weeks testing meta. Lol, it's Goblin time. Oh no, it's Goblin time, folks. And here's the card that everyone needs to be running in some capacity in their Branded deck. 3 Forbidden Droplet. So Forbidden Droplet's just so free right now, and I wish I could be maining this. I just, you know, in an updated build, maybe when we cut Nadir, this will be in the main, but this card's just insane right now. This card goes so hard in your own deck, and it also just like blows out Snake Eye for the most part, and Fire King. So I think that this basically goes in against every deck. We just set out in Nadirs. Someone, I hope someone screenshotted the pack thing. I should post it in general chat if they did. Yeah, I'm gonna try to find a way to main this, because this is just an insane card right now. And then we also have the other very insane board breaker, Super Poly. Let's talk Super Poly, folks. I have Mud Dragon as a side because we don't main it, because I think Mud Dragon is still probably the best. And like I said, I don't have my Panzer Dragon. This would be a Panzer Dragon elsewise, guys. So you could just consider this being a Panzer Dragon, because I think Panzer Dragon is more better against the Snake Eye deck. And then, which is your main issue as a matchup as a Branded player, so if I haven't established that already. Super Poly, I think right now is really good at your cleaning up your rogue matchups. It's really good. It's the best card in the mirror. Hands down the best card in the mirror. This card will control a mirror. It's like the Draco Sack Wars of hat format. Shout out to my boy Sam. It's like the last person to Super Poly wins the Branded game, basically. You know, whoever holds the Super Poly for the last move wins the mirror match. So I want this for the mirror, and I want this obviously for like Snake Eye / Fire. I think Mud Dragon does a sufficient job, because you can at least call Fire, but a lot of them are just playing around making Mud Dragon. But obviously you can still just dodge Imperb, make Mud Dragon, and then do the same thing, which is still pretty good. So I think that a lot of people are discounting this card, frankly. When it's still quite good, especially for the dodging imperm factor. And then also, when you're running a gas build like I am, I think this card is infinitely free. Like, your discard fodder does not matter. So that's why we're running it, folks. But, you know, remember, Panzer Dragon is a pretty good card right now. The last Nadir Servant, just for going first. I want these to be Twin Twisters, but that was not what the build was at the time. I didn't want to change it too much, so these are cosmics for now, but I would change these to twin twisters. I think twin twister in a build like this, it goes really hard because you plus so much that you don't really care about the discards. And then you have the feather duster is really good off of thrust right now. I think it's better than lightning storm because you don't have to play around bestials. Also, it's not once per turn, which is just like, I mean, obviously it's just like really flexible. And then the 3 evenlies are really good. I think evenly is your best board breaker because you don't have hand traps really, so you don't have to worry about like when do I hand trap kind of thing. You just go evenly. And obviously it's one of those cards that you kind of have to like assess a board and like when can you go evenly and when can you force them into a state to evenly or just like when to side evenly. I think this card is so good against the stun decks right now that it just takes care of those. It warrants running this just for those, but it's just like really good against Fire King a lot of the time. They don't just set up an Omni Negate, so you can just evenly them. And then also against Rescue Ace, Rescue Ace Snake Eye, it's very good. Extraordinarily good. You can actually get them for 9 cards like I did over on stream last weekend. I evenly for 9 cards. You know that I have channel memberships now. This is the best way that you can support the channel and get some awesome perks. You get access to the hidden Discord group chat where you get to ask me any questions about your decks. You get early deck lists, some early videos even, and exclusive emotes to use in the YouTube chat. And you get to duel me once a month. The best part is you get to support amazing branded and Yu-Gi-Oh content going forward. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for the memberships down below. Thanks for watching the video.